I want to encourage you to make things from scratch. Okay, mamas, we can do it. It just takes a little bit of learning, a little bit of practice. Today, we are going to make banana bread. I have made this so many times myself and with my little girls that I actually have it memorized, and I don't even measure things anymore. I mostly just throw it all in. Today, I'm going to go through the recipe with you, and we are going to measure it properly and do it to the T. So make some banana bread with me today. All right, I'm not a professional, I'm just a mom. All right, so let's jump right into it. I will say real quick, right off the bat, here is your ingredient list. We need bananas, an egg, vanilla, light brown sugar, or I just use brown sugar of any kind, white regular sugar, cinnamon, baking powder, baking soda, salt, flour. Oh shoot, I didn't use butter. I skipped that in my recipe. I did not use the butter. And then I added chocolate chips. So let's jump right into it, and I can already tell you I made a mistake. So anywho, let's kick it off. This also only requires one bowl, which is super nifty as a mom. So we are first gonna start off with 4 bananas. Now today I had tiny little bananas. You want them to be ripe so they're a little bit mushy. I used 5 bananas. I'm not good at following the recipe, as you can tell. But I used 5 bananas and went ahead and threw those in the bowl, and we are going to just start simply mashing the bananas. The recipe says about 1 1/3 cup mashed. I would rather have more bananas. To me, that's the healthy part of this recipe over like the sugar and stuff. So I went with 5 bananas, and if you're a little heavy on the bananas, it will bake up just fine. Next, we are gonna come in with the sugars. So for the white sugar, we're gonna do 2 tablespoons. I honestly just grab some out and throw it in on my own typically. Then we're gonna do the brown sugar, and that is gonna be 3 tablespoons. Yes, I use the same thing because they're both sugar and it is fine. I'm not necessarily flattening these off, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. This recipe is very forgiving. Then we're coming in with some cinnamon. The recipe says 1 teaspoon. I just did a shake. I didn't feel like getting out a teaspoon for that. We're gonna do 1 egg. Easy enough there. The vanilla extract, it says 1 tablespoon. I normally don't measure, but because I already had that tablespoon out, I went ahead and did so. Sometimes it's a good refresher to actually measure for your recipe. I'm gonna go ahead and mash this up. This is all of our like wet ingredients. I know the cinnamon's kind of a dry ingredient, but I like to swirl that in kind of. So we're gonna go ahead and mash all these things together, beat them up a little bit. After this part, I don't like to use the masher tool because the flour gets stuck in there. So I'll go ahead and switch over to a spoon. Again, just stirring that up, mixing it all together. No big deal there. Now we're gonna get into our dry goods. So this is our flour, which we're gonna do 1 1/2 cups. So I'm using a 1/2 cup measure. So I'm gonna do 3 scoops. When I make this with my girls, they fight over who gets to do the flour. They've learned how to master leveling it with a knife and are very proud of themselves. So I like to throw the flour in and not mix because I intentionally want the baking powder, baking soda, and salt to kind of mix into that flour. So next I'm getting out both the baking powder and baking soda, which are each gonna get a teaspoon. So that was a single teaspoon, and then here I'm using a 1/2 teaspoon, so I am gonna go ahead and do 2 scoops. Next, we are doing 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Like I said, I like to mix all those dry ingredients in together. We are nearly done at this point. I am gonna go ahead and get out the chocolate chips. I just eyeball it typically. Today I did a cup and then I kept adding a little bit more as I was mixing. We like our chocolate chip banana bread very chocolate chippy. Technically this recipe does not include chocolate chips, so don't trust the calories and whatnot because, you know, we changed it. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix that in a bit. And then we can go ahead and add in that cup of chocolate chips. You'll notice I throw in more as I'm going through this, so stay tuned for that. Now at this point, you could gently stir in 2 tablespoons of melted butter. I don't feel like I need that. I feel like the recipe turns out just fine without it. And for me, it's like one more thing to like get out in a little bowl and melt it. And it just isn't a need for me. I've made this plenty of times and we always skip that. Now, the first couple times I did it, I thought it was fine. I didn't think it made the recipe better or worse one way or the other. So I actually skipped the melted butter. My apologies. So at this point, I'm kind of cleaning things up, mixing, throwing in a couple more chocolates because why not? And then all we got to do is throw this in a loaf pan. It's up to you if you want to use parchment paper, if you want to grease it or butter it. I just threw it in. Overall, I have pretty good luck with it. At this point, the oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We are just gonna scoop it in, try to level it out. I try not to let the middle be really high because, you know, the middle is gonna take the longest to bake. So if anything, I try to make sure to spread it to the edges a little bit. Alrighty, and just like that, we are gonna throw this in the oven. On this day, I baked it for 45 minutes. I will be honest though, sometimes we under bake it and it's a little bit mushy in the middle and we really enjoy it that way. Of course, probably not safe with the egg, but you know, to each their own. All right, and this is what the banana bread looks like coming out of the oven. My girls are huge fans, especially my older one, absolutely loves banana bread. All right, so just like that, you can whip up banana bread. I mean, literally the mixing process takes me like 5 minutes at this point because I do have it locked in. You just need the one bowl and it's basic ingredients. You just gotta make sure your bananas are ripe. And you can also, like, when your bananas are going bad, if you're not ready to make banana bread, you can throw them in the freezer and then like thaw them and use them for banana bread. That's like a thing. Banana bread is so easy, so simple, and my kids love it. My oldest especially, we put it in her lunch all the time. And honestly, we've had phases where we make a loaf a week. All right, it's like a regular staple in our home. So mama, don't be afraid, try some new recipes, get in the kitchen and include your kids. All right, welcome them in there and see what they can come up with as well. All right, I hope you enjoyed this recipe today and I hope your banana bread turned out delicious. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, have a great day.